The sixth order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to amend Pension Reform Act 2014 to provide for the exemption of the Nigerian police force from the Contributory Pension Scheme and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Francis Waive. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 13 September 2021, and I invite Honorable Waive to move that the bill be now read the second time.
Francis Ejiroghene Waive is my name, and I represent the entire people of Ughelli North, Ughelli South, and Udu. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. I rise to move for the second reading of a bill for an act to amend the Pension Reform Act 2014 to provide for the exemption of the Nigerian police from the Contributory Pension Scheme and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Respect now. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you. I am Honorable Ben Roland Sigbakwa. I represent Ethiop East, Ethiop West. By the special grace of God, we are from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the bill to be read a second time, ably moved by my dear brother. I beg to second.
Waive is my name, and I represent the entire people of Ughelli North, Ughelli South, and Udu. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. A bill for an act to amend the Pension Reform Act 2014 to provide for the exemption of the Nigerian police from Contributory Pension Scheme and related matters. Mr. Speaker, it's my honor to lead this debate on the proposed amendment to the Pension Reform Act of 2014 to provide for the exemption of members of the Nigerian police force from the Contributory Pension Scheme. This bill seeks to amend Section 5, subsection 1, paragraph A of the Pension Reform Act of 2014 to include the Nigerian police among those categories of services personnel that are not part of the Contributory Pension Act, like the armed forces, the DSS, the intelligence agencies are not part of the Contributory Pension Act. When the Nigerian police was brought under this act, the aim was to ensure that they get enhanced welfare, both while they are serving and at retirement. But, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this has not been the case. In other climes where there's a contributory pension scheme, like in Chile, for example, the police force, just like other military forces, are not part of the contributory pension scheme. I want to plead, honorable colleagues, that you support this exception because the duties performed by the police, especially at this time of security challenges in our country, are enormous. And one way to encourage officers and men of the force to put in their best is to make sure that they are exempted from this contributory scheme. Let me give an example of the effect of the contributory scheme on the police. An assistant superintendent of police, for example, gets 1.5 million, whereas his counterparts in the military, the intelligence services that are not in the scheme, get much more than that, 12.8 his counterpart gets at retirement. But the worst thing is that even at retirement, the police still don't get this meager sum under the contributory scheme. So we have officers who leave and then they begin to suffer. Even the monthly pay is very low for the officers who are retired. As we speak, there are cries everywhere. I plead with the Honorable Speaker and members of this House to please give this bill your support so that it can pass for a second reading and members of our force, police force, will be encouraged to provide best services to our people, the good people of Nigeria. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, honorable colleagues.
Those against saying ayes have it.
A bill for an act to amend the Pension Reform Act 2014 to provide for exemption of the Nigerian Police Force from the Contributory Pension Scheme and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Pensions.
Exemption of the police force from the Contributory Pension Scheme passed second reading on the floor of the House. And I'm elated. Elated because it was
an unanimous vote. And even those who had some concerns were not against the bill itself, but were looking at the possibility of remedying whatever challenges there are in the operation of the Contributory Pension Scheme nationwide. But for the exit of the police, it was generally agreed today. My reason for sponsoring this bill, which I've now passed the second reading, is because of the disparity between the police and other security agencies as far as pension, the administration of pension is concerned in this country. The disparity is huge. It's like the difference between heaven and hell. A police inspector, for example, who retires will get about 15,000 naira monthly. His equivalent in the DSS or the Army or any other service will get over 100,000 naira every month. That is sad. The gratuity, the lump sum paid, the difference is also huge. Whereas a DSP will be getting perhaps about 1.5 million, his equivalent in the other services will be getting tens of millions of naira. And whereas the police are the first, port of call whenever there's a security challenge locally. And the security challenges we have now in this country are such that are ordinarily beyond the police. So we now find where several policemen are losing their lives across the country on the active line of duty. And I thought if there was any time for us to motivate our police force, it is at this time of security challenges in our country. And one way to encourage them is to ensure that their earnings improve and that they have something to look forward to upon retirement. That was my motivation. On top of that, at the end of service, when you are retired, under the contributory system, to even get your pension paid to you becomes another challenge. I think that as a country, we cannot allow that to happen to people who are serving us, serving our country. That is why I moved this motion. In Chile, for example, a country which was also one of those we studied before we implemented the contributory pension system, policemen are part of those that are exempted from it. So we're coming back on stream with, when this motion passes, this bill scales through. I'm looking forward to it scaling through the third reading and then getting concurrence from the Senate. And I know Mr. President, who is so concerned about the security situation of this country, will give assent to this bill. And our policemen, serving and retired, we have cause to rejoice. The entire scheme is bad, the contributory pension scheme. We're not saying it's bad in total. What we are saying is that security operatives and agencies are exempted. For example, the intelligence agencies are exempted. And I've given the example of other countries where the police are also exempted. So it's our thinking that for such security organization like the police, they should be exempted. It will be an encouragement to men and women in uniform. That's a crucial point. Whatever defects that there are in the contributory pension scheme will be addressed, as was discussed on the floor of the House, and should be addressed. But for security agencies, if you are exempting the intelligence agencies, the security agencies, then why not the police? My friend, my response really is that at the end of the day, it is not going to increase our overhead. It's going to reduce it. Currently, this country spends so much money on security. If our security personnel are better positioned, better encouraged, situation will improve and all this extra expenditure on security will drop. And at the end of the day, the overhead expenses will come down. And we cannot say because we are spending on police, we should stop spending on them. Any society without the police is unimaginable. And we have not spent enough, to my mind, And if we are excluding other security agencies, why not the police? The police are the first on the line in this duty. They are the first responders. And as a country, we have a lot more to do for the police. I think we have not done enough. We should do more so that we have a more secured country to live a meaningful life.